Hi, and welcome to 1111, a brand new series on Rogers TV that focuses on spirituality, the supernatural, and all kinds of mystical beliefs. My name is Roberta Hewitt, and throughout this season, I will be facilitating discussions with some really fascinating people as they share their spiritual experiences with us. We were so lucky to book our first guest. Her name is Michelle Russell, and she is an internationally renowned psychic medium. I had the pleasure of chatting with Michelle during one of her recent trips to this province. And here's that conversation. Michelle Russell. Michelle, so excited to meet you, to have you here, and thanks so much for being a part of this.
Thank you, Roberta. I'm so excited.
So I think maybe we should start out by having you explain to our viewers just exactly what a psychic medium is.
Yeah, well, a psychic medium, there's two parts to the work I do. The first is the medium part. So that's connecting with loved ones who've crossed over and delivering messages from them. And then the psychic part is I call it the P word, the psychic word, because it conjures up so many images. But psychic means intuitive, clairvoyant. So that's dealing with family, work, relationships, things that have happened in the past that may be blocking us, past life stuff, and then moving forward to say, here's where you are, where do you want to get going? What blocks do we need to remove? What's coming up for you? Family, work, relationship, all of that good stuff.
Awesome.
So it's a combination of both of those is what I offer.
Excellent. So I understand you were actually born psychic.
I was. As a little girl, I saw auras, colors around people. Pictures I would draw as a little girl had, my grandma's hands had pink on them. My mom always had yellow and pink and white and purple around her. And I just thought everybody saw that way. Thought everyone saw angels and loved ones who had crossed over. And it wasn't until very early on, I remember seeing my grandma sitting at the kitchen table and I was talking with her. My mom said, when I was quite little, she said, don't tell anyone. They'll think you're crazy and they'll take you away from me. So I thought, okay, no more dead people's story, guys. I can't talk to you anymore. And I recognize now that as a mother of my own, as a mother now, with my own intuitive children, she really did that to protect me. So it wasn't for a number of years later, I started working for a law enforcement agency, and I was very skeptic, did not believe in intuition, in psychic ability, didn't believe in any of that. Worked for a law enforcement agency actually as a records validator was my actual title. It was a very black and white, yes and no, very detailed job. And then I began to see spirits around police officers. And I thought, oh no, the crazy's back. So I went to see a psychologist, thinking that maybe it was a form of mental health or I was stressed, I needed some time off. And she sat down with me, ran me through testing, and she said, Michelle, you're not psychotic, you're psychic. And I said to her, well, make it go away. I don't believe in that. And she said, I can't. She said, what if you shared the messages that you were receiving with that police officer? And I was receiving messages from a little girl who had been violently raped and murdered in Fredericton, Jackie Clark. And the police officer that I kept seeing her around was the officer who found her in the woods. And I was able to pass on such specific information to him that he said, that's not in any police file, that's not in any court record. Those are feelings and thoughts that I've had in my heart. And he said it changed him, changed the way he felt. And he looked me in the eyes one day and he said, how long have you known these messages? And I said, well, probably for about 2 or 3 years now. And he said to me, I said, well, who was I to tell you? And he looked me right in the eyes and he said, who are you not to tell me? He said, you've been given this gift, these abilities for a reason. Who are you to keep that from me? Who are you to keep this peace that I'm feeling now after receiving those messages? And he said, you're here to help people. And this is the way that you're doing it. So it's from that moment that I've reached out and I've kind of started embracing my gifts. That was probably about 17 years ago. So it's been a beautiful journey.
So what are you going to take away from it? What will it change for you going?
I just have so much peace knowing that he's all right. Last year he spoke to me as well, but I was shocked and I wasn't prepared for it. So this year I came more prepared, and I'm going to be having a private session with her as well. And it's wonderful to know that your family and your loved ones are all right. It gives me peace.
Michelle, I can completely support that. I was at your show, and I have to say, you absolutely do have a gift, and you brought so much comfort and compassion to so many people who had lost a loved one. When you brought that energy, when that energy, I guess, came forward. So I guess I'm really curious as to when you're doing this, when you're in these shows or having these one-on-one sessions with your clients, what is it that you're receiving? Like, do you see a ghost? Is it an energy? Is it just an impression in your mind? I'm just really interested to know more about that.
Yeah, it's actually all of the above. Those are great examples. So I will often see the person, physically see the person beside, so their loved one beside them, but it's very faint. So it's not like a human being standing beside. It's very faint, almost like if you picture you've taken an image and you've lightened it to the lightest that it can get on a Photoshop. You lighten it right up. That's how the image looks to me. So sometimes it can be an outline. Sometimes they'll show me their specific characteristics, so what their hair looked like, their build, their body shape. I'll see that. Other times it's just an outline of them. Often with children, if a child passes at 5, they may show me them at 5 years old, the age that they passed, or they may show me the age that they would be today. So how they've aged and what their body would look like and their hairstyle would be today. So I physically see. It's very much like psychic charades. Is one police officer I worked with nailed it when they said it's kind of like psychic charades. And I said that's a perfect description. So I'll see things. If I hear a name, it's the sound of the name. So I always use the example of Mary. If I hear the name Mary, it sounds like this. That's all I get. So it could be Mary, Martha, Margaret, Martin, Mabel. I just hear the sound of the name. Sometimes I'll smell things. So it could be rose perfume or, Avon perfume or one that I love. I'm a city girl, originally from Victoria, BC. So I'm not used to the smells of automobile or anything like that. So if somebody, I think the night that you were at the show, it's that smell of diesel. Was a profound smell. It was almost making my nose itch, and I was just about to sneeze. And a woman had shared that her husband worked in diesel trucks, and he would come home after the end of the day smelling of diesel. So sound. I will sense things. So sometimes I can get physically in my body. If somebody had, a kidney condition or a lung condition, maybe they had trouble breathing just before they passed, I'll physically feel those sensations. And then the last is like a knowing. It's just a knowing, claircognizant. I know this. Feel it, hear it, smell it, see it, all the senses.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
and I could tell from the reactions of the people that you were interacting with is that they truly felt that you were communicating with their loved one. And I think it's interesting that they will communicate in however they can, whatever means possible, just to reach out.
And to get that message so that loved one who's physically at an event or physically at a session knows with absolute certainty they're talking to my loved one. It's information that nobody else could know, that only they know.
Absolutely.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Michelle, I also noticed while you were doing the session, and I found it kind of interesting and cute, that often you would kind of say something like, "Just a minute, sweetie," or "Yeah." And I'm like, it's like they're jumping up and down. And
they are. They're lined up. So in a big group event like that, everyone comes in surrounded by their loved ones. Like there are loved ones on the other side. I'll call them our guardians. So those are our angels, our guardian angels, our spirit guides that accompany us all the time. So in an event like that, every single person in the room is filled not only with human beings, but spiritual beings as well. So there's a beautiful energy filling the room. And those loved ones kind of step forward, but sometimes they will get anxious. So if I'm communicating with a woman, who lost her son in a car accident. The next guy is like, oh, I died in a snowmobile accident. I want to talk to my mom. She's here. She's over here. Tell her this and this. So they can get anxious. Often children, animals will have that anxiousness or that excitability, just like if they were here. I always say the personality, the essence of who somebody is when they're physically here is exactly the same on the other side. That essence remains. It's a part of our spirit that lives forever.
You bring up another really interesting point that I did want to chat about when you talked about animals. So you believe there is an animal spirit, that animals do cross over and can communicate back with us.
Absolutely. So often I will see animals, and sometimes I can see the actual type of dog, in the case of a dog. But we talked about this earlier. It's often, so I have a friend who has a Shih Tzu. So I will see, there's a Shih Tzu connection. It's kind of like psychic charades. Talk about this, and that's what I see. Other times it's like the outline or the shape, or maybe the personality of the dog. One dog came through and he had this little kind of toy, it was like a sock with a ball on it, and it was kind of half hanging out of its mouth in spirit. And I said to the guy, there's a dog coming through that's really stinky. He said, with like a sock with a ball hanging out of it, and he just lost it. He said, oh my gosh, that's my dog, who was like, pets and animals, cats, dogs, horses, they're a part of us. They're a part of our family. And so when we lose them, there's no place in our society to grieve that. It's, we put an animal down, and in many employers, there's an expectation to be at work the next day. We would never expect that if somebody lost a child, to go right back to work the next day. So connecting with a medium can really help process that grief and help them understand that their animals are still there, just like they're our loved ones.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're right beside us. And often people will feel, a brush by them or a warm spot on the couch where the animal sat, or they could be lying in bed. And I've had clients say, look, my dog used to lie right between my feet, and I was lying in bed, kind of crying, missing them, and I could feel a warmth right between my legs, exactly where the dog used to lie. And it's their spirit coming to say hello.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I have to share something with you. There's a guy. Can I do this?
Yeah,
Okay.
Absolutely.
He is not leaving me alone. Who's like Alan, Aaron, Alan, and who's like Lori, Laura? But I keep feeling it's like he's got a can of Pepsi, and it's like, tell Laura I love her.
Oh my God, that's my cousin.
There's like an A or an E.
That's my
like
cousin
it's like,
Aaron. He passed away. Laura's her mother.
He's
mother.
Did she take care of him,
She
or
did.
where was this? I
He was
feel like he was.
autistic.
Not like special needs, but I feel like he's like, I had my own journey here. So I always say when somebody crosses over, it's it's like, here I am, but I'm whole. It's like she was always so patient with me, and it's like, tell her I love her. Tell her I love her. And I feel like he's like eating like this big bowl, like. Do you know what I mean? It reminds me when boys get all like Doritos or cheesy. Do you know what I mean? Like his fingers are orange. Do you know what I mean? And he's like watching you do this, and he's like, "This is so cool."
That is amazing.
So I don't know where that connection is. If that's
no,
on
that's
dad's side of the family.
Oh,
But I
that's my
just
dad.
feel like where that connection is.
Wow. And
whatever
to
that
share
is.
something interesting with you, he died suddenly. No one was expecting him to pass. He was 30, I believe, when he passed over. And at the moment of his passing, I was actually at a meditation class in the city, and there was about 6 of us doing this group meditation. And of course, the practice of it is that we all went into the meditation, and then when we came out, we were to relate what the experience was. So I'm highly competitive. So I wanted,
So alike.
I wanted to have the best experience,
Yes.
right? And I was deep in this meditation, and all of a sudden, my cousin Aaron popped up in my head, and he knocked me completely out. He was such a strong presence. And when we started going around the room, when it was over, that's what I said. I said, my cousin Aaron appeared, and I have no idea why, but I had to come out of it. And before I left the meditation room, I had gotten the call that he had passed.
Oh,
and I always feel like he almost
Well, it's
stopped
like
in.
you get it. Out of the whole family,
Yeah.
you're the one that he can communicate with. You're the open one, kind of like an antenna or radio signal, right? Your radio signal is just like, I'm broadcasting. anywhere to listen. You're totally, oh, look, a little butterfly around you. You're totally open to that. So it's his easiest way of communicating, and you get it.
And his sister is my best friend, my lifelong best friend. So it is going to mean so much to her.
Wow.
She knows what I'm doing today, and it is just going to be amazing for her to
That
know
is wild.
that he's here. I just can't believe you even just did on. You're
Well,
so
he's
good.
just like literally with a big bowl. My boys love anything like sticky, like Doritos or cheesy. You know what I mean? Like a big bowl of like junk food. Do you know what I mean? And Pepsi.
And
he's
he
just
loves
like,
Pepsi. He
Terry
loves
likes
Pepsi.
Terry's like, can I bring my Pepsi? And I was like, no, don't put your Pepsi away. And I think that Aaron was like,
he did. He
talking about
loved
the Pepsi.
Oh, Michelle, you are truly
That's
amazing.
wild.
I said it as soon as I saw you. I'm like, this woman is the real deal.
aw, thank
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
That is awesome. And I feel like the family needs to know he's like, I'm okay. Like there's nothing that they could have done to prevent that. There's nothing, it's like, I'm here, I'm gone, but I'm totally at peace. And they need to live happy. It's like they paused their life for a number of years taking care of me. Now they can let themselves live again.
Wow.
Yeah.
They are actually salmon fishing out in central Newfoundland right now.
Something they probably could never do before, right?
Very,
He
very
couldn't do
different,
that.
right?
Wow. Oh, that makes
Amazing.
my heart so happy.
You absolutely made my day. That's beautiful. So now, more
love
back on
what I
you.
do.
I love what you do too.
Just amazing.
Okay, let's talk some more. Why don't you, I mean, I guess you just demonstrated that for us, but like a typical session with you would involve just that, you just getting your impressions and passing on these messages.
Yeah, so often I use a pen and paper to help me describe, kind of draw out what I'm being shown or write names and initials down. I record my sessions because I think it's important for people to be able to go back and listen to it again. In the moment they might miss something. I've had clients forget their own names, you know, how many children they have, their husband's names. So it's nice to be able to just kind of sit back, be present during the session, knowing that it's recorded later. So I'll just kind of draw out certain things that I'm showing and share them. And sometimes clients will be able to validate the messages 2 and 3 months down the road when it happens. I had a fellow message me, it was like 12 years later. He said, I was flying down to Cuba for spring vacation. I was sitting beside a guy and he's like, you're probably not going to believe this, but I went to see a psychic medium years ago. And he said, as I was telling the messages, his dad had passed away, so he was sharing the messages that came through. He said, I had an aha light bulb moment. And he said, I screamed so loud on the plane when I realized what my dad was trying to tell me that he said, it gave him goosebumps, it gave everyone in the row goosebumps. And so it's beautiful. Those little moments are beautiful. So I will often see images, or I'll describe out what I'm being shown, and loved ones kind of step forward. So who needs to be heard the most? I always set the intention before I do a session. I pray and meditate before a session, and I set the intention that it's for the highest good of all. It's with joy and love and for the highest good of all. So those messages come through. While they may not be exactly what the client wants to hear, you know, I want to hear where grandma's ring is. You know, maybe there's something that grandma needs to share deeper than that. Maybe it's something that happened in their childhood or something they're going through right now in their relationship or with their children that grandma needs to touch on. So it's beautiful. And we talk about family's deepest, darkest secrets. We talk about what's coming, you know, relationships, shifts that are happening at work, children, future children, children who've passed over. It's beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I often encourage clients to bring a list of questions that they may have. And typically, those questions get answered during this session. So I say, I don't want to see your question list until the very end. And 9 out of 10 times, all the questions are answered from Spirit.
You've
so
checked up all the boxes.
Right? Spirit's checked them off, right? It's a beautiful validation that their loved ones know exactly what they need to hear.
Michelle, have you ever had any negative energies or lower energies come through?
Yeah.
Anything that scared you?
Never.
Awesome.
I've never been scared because I truly believe that the work I do is centered in light. I know without question I'm protected by my loved ones, by Spirit, by God, by pure energy, pure energy. So I know that it's never scary. I mean, I sleep with the nightlight on still at this time because I've had people, spirit, energy come to the bedside. My loved ones have kind of come standing over me in bed, and that kind of freaks me out. So I still sleep with the nightlight. But I've never been frightened by this work. It's always given me a sense of comfort and peace, and just a peace in my heart, a deep sense.
So, Michelle, something else that you brought up during the show that I think would be really interesting to our viewers was when you talked about getting winks from heaven in terms of seeing the numbers 1111, seeing orbs on pictures, these light orbs.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that, please?
Sure. Actually, that's the name of my next book, is Winks. My upcoming book is Winks from Heaven. So it's perfect that that's extra validation for me. A little wink from heaven for me. Our loved ones send us signs constantly. They try to show us daily that they're in our lives. Now, it might not be what we want to hear, but it's what we need to hear in ways that they can. So some of the very common ones are 1111. So you'll see 1111 on the clock, and it only happens twice a day, but we see it with such frequency. It can be on a receipt, it can be on an image or on a sign, that we see that. And that's our angels and our loved ones saying, pay attention to me. You're awakening, you're opening yourself up to this beautiful energy. Thank you for letting us in. Wow. Is what I see. Dimes are another sign. So people will find random dimes around. And I often refer to it as, back in the day when we had pennies from heaven. My grandma used to talk about that. Now it's dimes. And I often refer to that as, back in the olden days, you could put 10 cents in a payphone and call someone that you loved. It's the same. They're saying, talk to me. Anytime you need me, I'll be right here. I'm just only a phone call away. I'm only a conversation away. So, and we'll find dimes in the most random places. I had a client who found his father had passed away, and he came for a session. And I said, your dad is going to be sending you dimes, and he's owns a construction company. There's no way I'm going to find dimes. So he goes to get in his truck, drives down. It was probably about an 8-minute drive down a highway going 90 kilometers an hour. Pulls into the bank parking lot, gets out of his truck, and on the running board, it's February, so it's like mucky and slushy, and if there was anything that was on the running board going 90 kilometers down the highway in slush, it would have drifted off. Anyway, sitting right on the running board was the dime when he got out of the truck. I mean, that's like less than 10 minutes from hearing that message, and he already started to see them. So, or people will vacuum. Do you know what I mean? Or you go and vacuum your whole house, you come back, boop, there's a dime sitting right on the floor.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. Butterflies, we just had one flying around you. Butterflies are a sign from spirit. Often I will see butterflies as a sign of new beginnings. So if somebody is changing or going into a new position or opening themselves up to a new career, butterflies are often a sign from our loved ones. Yeah.
And now the orbs of light in the photograph.
Yes. So our loved ones will send us signs, halos, or sometimes if somebody takes a photo, it's like this stream of light will come down and wash over them, over children, infants, just as a sign, that a physical sign of proof that their loved one is watching over them.
Wow. So Michelle, I understand that there is a 2-year wait list for an appointment with you. That is amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Very big deal. And I also understand you have quite the reach on social media.
I do. I started a Facebook page just so when I connected with clients, if there was a quote, quotes are beautiful ways that our loved ones will connect with us. So if you are on social media, and you're feeling down or you need a little boost, sometimes things will pop up. I call it intuitive Googling. So things will just pop up and you'll be like, goosebumps up the back of your neck, and you'll say, oh, I needed to hear that today, or that's exactly the message. I needed to hear that song, or I needed to see that post. So I created a Facebook page a few years back just to share that with clients. And it's grown to close to 550,000 clients with like a 33 million reach. It's incredible. All over the world I have clients. So I've actually just started offering phone sessions for clients. So my out-of-town clients or clients who are far away. I had a client call last week from Bahrain, from Ireland, had a client, Australia. So I'm very grateful to have a global reach.
So you also mentioned that you have a new book coming out. Do you have a release date on that
I
yet?
do. I don't. It'll probably be early 2018. The working title is Winks from Heaven, and I'm very excited. It'll be a little bit like Chicken Soup for the Soul type books, so short stories. I think that when we're grieving, we can't pick up a book and read it from cover to end. It's that book that if you know somebody has just had a loss, it's that little gift book that you can give them. You know, sometimes we bring over a casserole or flowers. We kind of feel helpless. What can I do? This book can help them through their journey, help them see their own little winks from heaven, and hopefully help them find closure and inner peace during their grief journey.
That is lovely, and I'm sure it will do very, very well.
Thank you.
Your message is very pure, and you express it really beautifully.
Thank you.
So, Michelle, what if somebody who's watching us today here in Newfoundland and Labrador wanted to reach out to you or wanted to find out more about you, your book, your tour, how to reach you?
The best way to connect, and I love Newfoundland. There is something, Newfoundland and Labrador, there is something so sacred about this place. I don't know if it's surrounded by water or the pureness and the spirit, but I love coming here, love it. My soul loves it. So the best place to reach is michellerussell.ca. That has a link to all my tours, my events that are coming up in Newfoundland and Labrador. I'm going to be traveling there either in the fall or the new year. And a way to book a session. I do phone sessions as well, so it's great for my Newfoundland and Labrador clients.
That is.
And on Facebook, it's Psychic Medium Michelle Russell.
You have a few fans there.
Yeah, a few.
Michelle, thank you so much for coming in and doing this. And just thank you for what you do, this message that you're spreading and giving to the world. Like, I witnessed firsthand how you just touched so many people in that room during that session, and the world's a better place to have you in it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Special thanks to Michelle Russell for that interview. If you have any ideas for upcoming episodes or would like to provide some feedback on the show, please get in touch with me. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram under the handle Robbie11_11. Thanks so much for watching and have a great night.
The following program is brought to you by Rogers Anyplace TV. Enjoy exclusive content for free. Visit RogersAnyplaceTV.com.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
This month on Channel 100, you can watch and win with Rogers On Demand and Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
Back for more, huh?
Rogers On Demand wants to send you and your family of four to Universal Studios Hollywood to go behind the scenes on the world-famous studio tour and explore where Hollywood movies are made. You'll enjoy a 5-day, 4-night stay with park access and airfare. Order Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom from Channel 100 and be automatically entered to win today.
Huntington's disease is a hereditary degenerative disease of the brain.
It affects your behaviors, your mind.
And it's a relentless disease.
If you took Alzheimer's, if you took schizophrenia, if you took Parkinson's and you mix them all together, you would have Huntington's disease.
Huntington's disease is devastating.
I just hope that I'm the last.
When you become a Rogers volunteer, it's always an opportunity for everybody to come together and try different things that they've never been able to do before. I encourage everybody to be a volunteer at Rogers TV because not only do you grow professionally, you grow personally as well. I would love to be in this field in the future, and Rogers TV is the perfect place to find your footing. My name is Tyler Hodgkinson, and I'm a Rogers TV volunteer.